The Parti-Québecois has launched a new ad campaign extolling the virtues of independence, featuring the tagline of "Being independent pays off." The ad features Paul St-Pierre Plamondon extolling the virtues of a sovereign Quebec. He joins us now on the line. Monsieur Plamondon, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
So, well, first things first, who is this ad really for?
Well, for all Quebecers. So, as I mentioned on several occasions on your show, I think I remember, I'm campaigning with all Quebecers. And on this precise topic, more specifically on financial issues, it really concerns all Quebecers. We send way too much money to Ottawa. There's a fiscal imbalance because Ottawa doesn't provide many direct services to the population, but yet gets almost half of the taxes. And that creates problems in financing fundamental missions such as healthcare, education, social services. And I think that if we keep those $82 billion we send yearly to Ottawa, we would make different choices. We would focus on what's important for us. That is to take care of the population, and that concerns everyone.
Now, your party is going to great lengths to mention that this is the first time, as in your press release, first time you're going to run an English ad like this on English TV. Our listeners will be able to see that on TV, I think, as of today. And yes, that, to me, that's something that is different. And I wonder why the full court press to English speakers. How much does it have to do with anglophones in this province? How much of it has to do with younger francophones that are consuming a tremendous amount of English content?
No, they're not at all the audience here because it's on television. And usually television is for older crowds.
Sure, but it'll get cut up and put onto TikTok.
Maybe,
you know that's going to happen.
Maybe, but the point is, the most important aspect of this ad is I believe there's a majority of English-speaking Quebecers who understand and agree that Quebec is different from a linguistic and cultural standpoint, and they're fine with it. And they also conceive that Quebec could be deciding by itself. And most importantly, they're concerned with the way the hospitals are run right now, the lack of services, in education, in social services. And the argument, the financial argument, that we could do things differently if we get back those $82 billion, it is a very compelling one, a very important one. And I think there's a larger audience within anglophones in Quebec than that what we could think. But of course, Parti-Québecois has not spent a lot of time making this case historically, and I think I said on many occasions that I would do that, and that we'll see. Right now, the support for Parti-Québecois is at 9% among anglophones, so it's not a lot, and I think we could do better, and I think we will do better by simply putting forward very candidly, honestly, what we believe is a good society project for everyone.
So interesting, the perspective there, because when you said 9, I said, geez, not bad for the PQ 9 amongst anglophones. But let me ask you...
Well, let me be a bit more ambitious than that, because with 9%, we need to understand here, when the independence of Quebec happens, there are two scenarios. In one in which anglophones and francophones and Quebecers from all regions do that together, they give birth together to a new country. And in another scenario, it's anglophones are not participating. And if I have a wish for Quebec's independence, is that we do this all together, and it's a promise of a better society from an environmental standpoint, from a public services standpoint. So I think working on uniting people around that society project is in itself an important mission.
Well, I'll tell you, your language is confident and bold here, but I need to ask you about this. You know, you went to McGill, you went to Oxford, you had a tremendous education, but I now have to ask you about how your math skills are, because I have a lot of people telling me that the math doesn't add up in the ad. I know you bring up the $82 billion here, and even the Premier of Quebec, François Legault, a guy that used to be in the Parti-Québecois and wanted a sovereign Quebec at one point, says the numbers don't work. Quebec is a have-not province and takes far more from the Federation than it puts in. So explain the numbers. How does the math work here?
We have an 80-page document called the Budget of an Independent Quebec that has been verified by 6 different economists from different universities in Quebec that explains that. And it's not the first time François Legault says something that is actually not true. And I think he...
Well, why would he change his mind? Like, I mean, he used to be on Team Gung-Ho Independence, and he's changed his tune a bit, at least, when it comes to the financial situation.
Yeah. So it is true that we receive more than $9 billion in equalization payments a year. But at the same time, Canada takes a tremendous debt every year. So since 2015, on average, the part of Quebec, the part of the debt that is Quebec's debt, is $15 billion a year. So, of course, an independent Quebec could borrow $15 billion every year and write to itself a check in equalization payment for an amount of $9 billion. But it's not true when you consider the debt created by Trudeau's government, and when you consider the cost of doubling up every single mission, having 2 governments that don't understand each other and do the exact same thing at the same time. There's a cost to that, and it's been verified by economists in a very large document. So what I'm saying in the ad is absolutely true. We can get back the $82 billion a year. Of course, of that amount, you need to take out the direct transfers from the federal. That's around $29 billion. I talked about equalization payments and debt, but there remains $50 billion. And the question is fundamental. Do we get our money's worth in services for that $50 billion? And if you look at what's happening at the public service in Ottawa, the size of the public service in Ottawa has grown from $40 billion a year in cost to more than $60 billion a year under Trudeau, with no new services. And the director of federal budget even said that there's a deterioration of the quality of the services and of the quality of the public service.
I'll give you this, right? The bloat on the federal side, we know there's tons of bloat there, but some would argue, and some would argue there's bloat on the provincial side as well, right? But I guess,
we have a government on top of a government, and they do the same thing, and it slows down everything. So the calculation is on 70 or 80 pages in the budget year 1 of the independent Quebec, but obviously there's a lot of waste at the federal level because we don't get much in return. Of course, there's a cost for having an army, for having frontiers. There's a few missions done by the federal, but they're not equivalent to the budget, the taxes that are taken by Ottawa. And that's why Ottawa doesn't respect its own constitution by going into the province's competencies and intervening and putting conditions all the time, and it's not a functional system. So that's the point of the ad. But for those who are interested in every specific figures, it's online. It's the Budget Noir.
And so let me ask you it this way, because you have put a lot of preparation. It's clear you've thought this through. But let me ask you if you've thought it through far enough for the scenarios of negotiating with Canada. In the scenario, you say when, right? If you end up with a vote and you win a referendum, what happens in the negotiations? How much are you willing to give up? Would you be willing to give up some of the territory of Quebec to get the country you want? How far have you gone through with your planning?
Well, the reality is that there's a legal framework to all this. So you have the Vienna Convention on the Succession of States, and you have a lot of jurisprudence on territorial integrity. And
the Clarity Act here in Canada.
Yeah, and the renvoi sur la sécession as well. There's a duty to negotiate in good faith after a winning referendum. On both sides, there needs to be good faith. We can get support from the United Nations or other third parties, neutral third parties. But I have to say, like, for financial details, it's pretty much foreseen by the Vienna Treaty as to where the assets and the debt, how it's dealt with in a situation like that. So, of course, you can't foresee. I don't have a crystal ball, so there are things. Is the federal government in good faith or not, and how other provinces are going to react, because it's not necessarily the case that other provinces will not be open to discussion. A lot of provinces, such as Alberta, Saskatchewan, think that the federal is just overstepping and cheating its own constitution. They have the same observations than Quebec, so it's also a possibility that Quebec starts talking directly with other provinces, saying, well, what can we work together that is not such a waste of public money and such a disrespect of democracy in each of our states?
Are the borders of Quebec negotiable?
Well, all this is governed by territorial integrity and international law. So Quebec has a territory that is well defined, and that's just a reality, a legal reality.
Last thing for you, when it comes to youth, right? It seems like youth in this province, they're more concerned about territorial disputes in the Middle East right now than they are about Quebec and Canada. Does that frustrate you at times, that it doesn't seem like youth in Quebec care about this cause as much as you do?
I think it's okay to care about wars that are very, very sad. So I have no problem. I actually think we should take care of topics like that, and an independent Quebec will be a pacifist state, such as other small countries that are making the promotion of peace. And as for the support of youth, the support for the Parti-Québecois has been growing to the point that we're a few points behind Québec solidaire now, and we may become the most popular party among youth in Quebec over the next year. We work on that right now. So there's a growing support. I've been very, very well welcomed in universities, packed assemblies, people who couldn't even get in the room because there was too many people. So things are going well because we have a society project that is very positive and exciting. But once again, I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't foresee the future. What I do is to say what I think would be the best option for the common interest of Quebecers, and I put it forward and I let people decide, and I do exactly that for Anglophones in Quebec as well, because I think a lot of Anglophones are proud to be Quebecers, and they deserve to have better healthcare, education, and I think we can achieve an improvement by not having such a waste of two governments that don't understand each other.
Monsieur Plamondon, thank you for speaking to our listeners. Good luck with the ad campaign. Come back soon.
Thank you.
That's Paul St-Pierre Plamondon, leader of the PQ.